What do you believe is the greatest treasure one can obtain on the Sea of Thieves? The gold hidden within the vaults of the ancients, the loot that's being defended by the notorious Flameheart, or maybe the friends we made along the way? Well, many thieves agree that the hallmark of a pirate is the acquisition of the Chest of Legends. Otherwise known as an Athena chest, the Chest of Legends is among the most valuable pieces of loot you can find on the sea, for you can only obtain one once you have become a pirate legend. Actually, that's not entirely true. The Fort of the Damned also houses a Chest of Legends within its vault, and of course, if you never intend to actually do the voyage, you can also try to steal one from Athena Emissaries. No pirate legend required. While my crew and I were on the seas fighting our petty squabbles and turning other pirates' possessions into our coin, we heard tale of that so-called Chest of Legends, and how every Reaper that thinks highly of themselves has also successfully stolen one such chest. Needless to say that stealing something so prestigious is not going to be an easy task for a bunch of greenhorns like us, and while we had been aware of the fact that we should set our sights for more manageable goals first, we were determined to make a name for ourselves by stealing that fabled chest. And as you can imagine, there is more than one way to go about that. In today's tale, I want to show you two different methods of acquiring an Athena chest that does not include PvEing, but does feature a dysfunctional crew of pirates that can't tell a chest of legends from a chest of 1,000 grogs. In one of them, I'm going to show you how to find a ship that is guaranteed to have an Athena chest to then face them in open combat, while the other one is going to feature the sneaky tucking approach, hiding on a ship that is currently sailing under the flag of Athena's fortune. So with the introduction out of the way, get your tucking clothes on, prepare your inventory for combat, and enjoy yourself another chapter of the Sea of Tales. Now, I'm not gonna sugarcoat it for you guys. Tucking is really, and I mean really, boring. A wise man once said that on a scale from 1 to 10, tucking scores about a have somebody else do it for you out of 10. And that's a philosophy that, by now, I truly live by. But of course, for me to get to that point, many tucking attempts had to be made. And the problem with Athena Emissaries in particular is that these guys are about the most paranoid pirates I have ever seen. You could be swimming to them from 2 islands over thinking there's no way they will bother checking for tuckers when they don't at least hear a cannon shot of some description, just to find yourself shot by an Eye of Reach because part of an Athena Emissary's routine is jumping into the water in intervals of 5 minutes to make sure nobody can steal any of the loot that they are yet to obtain. I mean, I get it, if there's a group of pirates that is the most likely to be tucked on, it's Athena's, but they're doing a voyage that already takes ages to complete and make it take that much longer because they're so afraid of somebody trying to attack them, and that makes fighting them extremely obnoxious. But finding them isn't actually all that difficult. Once you arrive at your local tavern, you can simply check the board to see if any wooden ships representing Athena Emissaries are present, and if there are, chances are you're not in a hurry at all. Again, these voyages take ages to complete, and sinking them is really only worth it once they achieve rank 5 in their emissary standing, which means that you might as well kill some time by doing something like the Flameheart event. So while we are taking our sweet time on the tucking approach, what about we take a look at how we can acquire the Chest of Legends in open combat? As I've already mentioned, Athena Emissaries aren't the only ones who can legally acquire a Chest of Legends. Since you can find one such treasure within the Fort of the Damned, the easiest way to guarantee getting your hands on it is looking out for people trying to raid said fort. If you look into the sky and you see a massive skull with red eyes, that means the fort is currently active. If you're not on an island where that is easily visible, you can look out for the Reaper's mark on the map located at 14L, since the vault also houses the Reaper's bounty, and that will be visible as soon as somebody engages with that event. In our case, we have been particularly lucky that the one taking on the fort has been a Reaper emissary, meaning that even if they are very quick when it comes to loading the treasure on the ship, not only can we accurately track them on the map, we also know the destination they're going to head towards to sell the goods. Daggertooth is not the worst outpost for you to hang out until the fort is cleared, because it is far away enough as to where it can't be seen from the fort, but close enough that you can get there reasonably quickly once they are done with it, and that without any chance of spooking them. And the fact that there's a lot of resource barrels on the island also means that you can kill some time by loading up your ship to be best prepared for the battle that is to come. Usually, pirates deciding to take on the Fort of the Damned are well stocked up on resources to do it as quickly as possible, and the island that houses the fort is also quite loaded on barrels. So, you know, make sure you have what you need to actually win that battle. Raising an emissary flag is not a bad idea either, just to get a bit of a bonus payout. Usually we're going for the Reaper's bones, but we didn't want them to see us coming. Though Birdie pointed out something very relevant in regards to us fighting another Reaper emissary.
Oh, they can see us coming, by the way. Cliff.
Let's lower the emissary flag again. Yeah, a Reaper 5 during the fort is a blessing because you can track them, but since they can also spot every emissary on the seas, that also means that you don't get to raise one yourself, if you want to get the jump on them anyway. Once your ship is loaded, all you have to wait for is the disappearance of the giant skull in the sky, indicating that they've completed the event. And that, for you, means go time. Once your target has completed the event, you are starting to go up against the clock. Since we didn't want them to get suspicious, we didn't sail by to check how big of a ship they are sailing on. You just have to assume that they are on a galleon, meaning that they can load up the treasure very quickly with the power of a 4-man crew, which makes it ever the more annoying when one of your own crewmates decided to go AFK. It's also very beneficial to make sure everybody knows their roles, particularly when you sail on a galleon yourself. In our setup, we have 2 dedicated boarders, a helmsman, and a first mate responsible for repairs and cannons. At this point, a bit of a pep talk to prepare your crew for the upcoming battle is also a good idea. I need everyone to please bring their A game. You know, no like eating, no, don't gamer sit, actually like pro gamer sit, straight back.
Like lean forward.
Yes. Face close to the monitor.
Bro, I'm in a rocking chair. I can't do that.
I'm sitting in bed, I can't do that.
So with 2 of us being laptop Andys, one of which is sitting in a rocking chair and the other one leisurely laying in bed, that left Josh and me as the only candidates to be boarders of our crew. As we approached our target location, we saw that we weren't the only ones trying to profit off of somebody else's effort. FOTDs have a tendency to attract a lot of scallywags that are too lazy to actually work for the gold, much like ourselves. In total, there were 2 brigantines, 1 sloop, and our galleon trying to fight for the loot, meaning the only way to come out victorious in this encounter was by taking them on one at a time. Since it seemed like all the ships were trying to feel out the situation, I decided to cannon over to the fort to check if they were actually done grabbing all the loot. And once on the island, I found out that for some reason they decided to leave the Reaper's bounty here, which is odd considering that their emissary flag is going to reveal that location anyway. However, they also left all the kegs in here, giving me all sorts of ideas for how we could end this battle very swiftly. While I decided to take a swim in the name of my newly found business of Uber keg delivery, Brandon fired himself off our ship because, quote, I saw an opportunity. Listen, the galleon is the fastest sinking ship on the seas with only 1 hole on the bottom deck, meaning that your first mate deciding to see an opportunity can end up with you on the bottom of the ocean in no time at all. Needless to say that our captain gave him a stern talking to about how he doesn't see opportunities, he sees holes in our ship that need to be fixed. I'm gonna save you some time here and spoil the end of my swimming adventure, which was me repeatedly getting attacked by sharks until I found myself on the ferry of the damned. And since I didn't trust Brandon to be able to actually do his job, I made sure to fix any holes that he figured he was too cool to take care of upon my return to our vessel. But that intermission would not last very long as one of the brigantines sailing under the flag of the Order of Souls decided to approach us very aggressively. I have to admit that inventory management, among many other things, was not my strong suit at that point, meaning while I was fiddling to find the right projectile, I missed my chance to board their vessel. Though it didn't help that my anchor ball faced right through their ship. I guess that's one of the perks you get when working for the Order of Souls. But to ensure that we can get rid of them for good, I had to fire myself over and stop any attempt they could make to repair their ship. Once that emissary is gone, all we had to worry about was the Reaper, who was in the possession of the loot that we desire. Though as I was about to board their vessel, it seemed like my crew was having a bit of trouble.
I'm
What
not
the
in
heck?
the cannon.
Guys, our ship sinking.
Oh, what? How?
Oh my gosh, Brandon, that's your job.
We literally took 0 damage.
Yeah, that 0 damage we took off of these guys ramming us would probably do the trick. The only saving grace was that the Order of Souls had also sunk at that point, with only one of their crewmates returning from the ferry of the damned to try and take me out. It was a bit of an awkward squabble in the water, and looking back at this fight, I can definitely see that I've come a bit of a ways in combat ever since that encounter. But hey, sunk is sunk at the end of the day, right? Though we still had that Reaper Emissary to contend with, and Lord knows how we're supposed to achieve that without a vessel of our own.
Did everybody just sink? Everybody sunk.
How?
Everybody just sunk.
My best guess at that point was that the reason the Order of Souls ended up sinking was because they boarded the Reaper Emissary to make sure that they would also go down, leaving their ship with nobody to repair while our galleon found itself at the bottom of the ocean due to our own incompetence. Birdie had to fend off one last pirate trying to tuck on us while I was in awe about all the loot that now rose to the surface. It was definitely a lucky day, because these ships have been carrying supply and ammo crates that we could use to defend ourselves, since our crew was the only one still alive, even if we're lacking a ship to actually get the loot out of here. Speaking of ships, how is our tucking method going? We're still doing Flameheart. Alright, we'll come back to that one in a bit. Through the blessing of whatever nautic deity would hear us, we found ourselves with a rowboat and a one-way ticket to Cashville. Sure, the poor thing has seen better days before, but anything beats actually trying to swim to the next island. While we tried our best to load up as much of the loot as possible, with the obvious exception of the Reaper's bounty, Brandon had gone and took a mermaid to rectify his mistake and bring back a new ship so that we can secure our goods. What followed was a long and painful exercise in anxiety-filled patience as we rowed our way to Reaper's hideout, obviously assuming that all the ships that sunk at the fort would try to come back and rob us. This heist in particular was definitely featuring more dumb luck than skill of any description. But hey, we got a chest of legends on a rowboat, and isn't that what really matters at the end of the day? Brandon eventually caught up for a pickup, allowing all of us to let out a sigh of relief, though our entire crew at that point was questioning his competence a bit.
You know what else we should check? Whether we're sinking right now, because I don't trust it.
Yeah, let's check that, okay.
I was just down there. I literally am so good at captaining this big ship.
The last time you said we have no holes, Cliff was fixing a hole.
What are you talking about?
While we were debating whether or not an entire galleon crew could have managed to tuck on our ship while Brandon was not looking, Birdie came up with the big brain idea of not bringing any of the loot onto our ship so that we can raise the Reaper Emissary flag and at least get a tiny bonus payout for the level we are bound to get for all that stuff. And as our captain commands, we went to raise the Reaper Emissary flag, loaded every single piece of loot onto our ship, and finally, at last, went to collect our coin for the spoils we acquired. Surely with all that time spent, our tucking attempt must have also gone somewhere, right? It seems we have completed the Flameheart event and Birdie was currently tucked on the ship of the Athena Emissary. I guess all we can do right now is wait for them to be done with the voyage, though I spotted something rather odd. There's somebody on the rowboat to our left. Brandon, do you want to go after them? They're going to the fort.
Yeah.
It didn't take Brandon long to eliminate whoever was on that rowboat and tell us what the heck they were trying to get to the fort.
They had a chest of legends here. I'm bringing it back.
What?
What?
We anchor this right now! Remember when I said that tucking for Athenas was have somebody else do it out of 10? Yeah, I wasn't lying. While our crew was out there shutting Flameheart up, there was another guy tucking on them this entire time. He must have somehow gotten away on a rowboat with all the Athena exclusive pieces of loot that are inherent to that emissary voyage. And now, they were all ours. We went full escort mode on the Athena cell at the nearest outpost, and as I was doing my ordinary RP walk towards the mysterious stranger, I saw that the Athena Emissary had either given up or ended up sinking. Either way, we successfully obtained the chest of legends as well as a whole bunch of loot that we merely went out of our way to get to kill some time. I hope today's tale allows you to learn from our mistakes while also giving you a good idea of how to approach the stealing of an Athena chest. And I promise that one of these days I'll give you a bona fide attempt at tucking. At the time of telling you the story, I'm actually yet to do it successfully, so hopefully I'll be able to show you how to actually tuck in the near future. Either way, thank you everybody so much for watching today's episode of the Sea of Tales. If you found yourself enjoying this one, then do let me know by dropping me a like on your way out. Consider subscribing if you want to see more, and definitely hit that bell icon to not miss out on my weekly uploads. I hope you guys have a day filled with riches on the sea, and until next time, peace.